Thank you for listening to this Podcast One production, available on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That cuddly little fellow over there, well, that's Tim Dennis. Hey, Tim.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, good. How about you?
Doing very well.
You know, I'm very excited. We're right off the heels of the Salem Live TV show and the premiere of the Holzer Files. And I got to tell you, dude, I'm touched. First of all, thank you for watching, Tim, and for commenting and posting about it to social media. But thank you to our throngs of listeners. I've got to tell you, our network took notice how many of the listeners reposted, but they didn't just repost. It was the insanely kind comments about, your favorite radio show host and how you followed our careers with Darkness Radio for the last 13 years. And you're happy to see this and you can't wait to watch a show and how much you love the show. And the network took notice. They were blown away by how many people posted and had a beautiful thing to say about me, Darkness Radio, our shows, everything. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you'll continue watching. Some people still think that was just a one-off special, even though we've been promoting it on air and on social media for 6 months. No, it's an ongoing TV series every Thursday on the Travel Channel. It is 10 episodes long, and it'll be going through till December. So please just keep tuning in. And again, I'm not just telling you this for my TV show, but I was blown away by this fact, Tim. You know how many shows we love to watch that just kind of vanish, and you're like, what the hell? That show was great. Everybody I know watches it. How did it get canceled?
Yeah.
Everybody DVRs them now, and then they wait, and they watch 12 episodes back to back. And they think, oh, look, I love it. I watch every episode, and we love to binge them. However, that doesn't count in the ratings. Right. If you DVR a show, you need to watch that show within 48 hours to 3 days, within 2 to 3 days, but usually it's within 48 hours of the time you DVR it for it to count towards ratings. And I know you think, oh, but they're not counting my box. They're counting every box. So if you get a chance to record a show that you love, but you don't get a chance to watch it, just turn it on in the background when you leave for work in the morning, or turn it on in the background while you're doing laundry or taking a shower. Let it run so that it counts, and then go back and watch it and binge them all at another time. But make sure that the networks and the rating systems know that you love the show, our show or whatever show, because that's how you keep them on the air. And it's a shame people aren't informed of that. And I wonder how many great shows didn't make it because people recorded the entire series, which I'm guilty of. Listen, I've been guilty of recording a series, and I'm like, I'm going to wait. And if I know they're coming back for a second season, I'll watch the first season. Yeah. Because I don't want to invest myself in a TV series, and I'm talking drama or comedy, kind of show, not a reality program. But I don't want to invest myself in a program that never gets an end. That drives me crazy.
Yes.
So, I'm guilty of that, and I've missed out on some great shows because of it. And I'm sure many of you have as well. So that's the way to watch a show and protect your favorite shows. So watch them within 48 hours, or at least run them in the background so that they're being counted. And that'll help out. So, Tim, all right, we always do TV and movie reviews and things on this program. You're going to do a review of The Joker, but I want to ask you, in full honesty, buddy, you don't have to sugarcoat anything. Don't have to be nice about it.
Okay.
The Holzer Files. What'd you think of the show?
Honestly, I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, the thing I enjoyed really the most about it was the archival footage versus the real time. I don't want to say real time, but the current investigation and the compare and contrast really grabbed me. That's the part of the program that really grabbed me. The being able to hear Hans Holzer in bits and pieces of his original investigation versus what you guys were doing current day really grabbed me. And I don't know what it was about that grabbed me so much, but it really intrigued me and grabbed my interest. And I mean, having Alexandra involved as well and having her recollection of what went on at that time was a nice piece that was added to it as well. I mean, it's nice to have you on the show as well. It's nice to have my buddy there as well. I'm not going to lie. It's nice to have a personal piece tied to it too. There's that. I'll give you this. Here's my one criticism I'll throw at you.
Okay.
With the show. So you get, in all honesty, but it redeemed itself in the end. And that was, I thought, it was a little light on evidence up until the end. In that it was a lot of, but keep in mind, in the way that Hans Holzer investigated, it was with a good trans medium. That's what he believed. And that's what you got in the beginning with Cindy. And so you got the trans medium part of it up until the end. And that's when the paranormal investigation part of it came in with the actual physical investigation part with your cameras and your EVP and your, all your other, gadgets
standard
and gadgets.
Tools,
and,
right?
Yeah, standard tools. And then the physical evidence delivered to back up what Cindy had to say. And I think for most people who are used to modern day paranormal television, they would go, well, I get it. I'm getting, and I hate to throw the modern day shows up against you, but they're going, well, I'm kind of getting Dead Files here, which I just watched, but I'm not saying that's what I'm saying, but that's what most people would say. Well, I'm kind of getting a little bit of what, Dead Files just gave me, but wait a minute, now I'm getting something else. To me, I was like, well, this is nice because I'm getting what Hans used to give us, and now I'm getting the modern day spin, and now you've brought the two together, which was good. The handprint was a nice gotcha. It was a nice spin because you didn't see it coming at the end. The water on the ceiling was very interesting indeed, too, at the end of the episode. So there was some nice redemption at the end of the episode, which really pulled everything together. And I thought, wow, that was very interesting. And I liked, and I know I'm spoiling a lot of things for people who probably haven't seen the episode yet, but I liked at the very end of the episode, you did something at the end of the episode that, and I'm just going to say it, God damn it, most paranormal shows don't do, and that is you offered a solution to the end of the case. And a lot of times you just have a paranormal show that gets up, leaves the case, and says, well, that was it. And, well, we or they say, they kind of half leave it out there. Well, the family's fine and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the episode, you did say, we offered the house a blessing. So there was a solution to what was going on at the time with that house, which is something you don't always see, which I appreciated.
Well, and we wanted to empower the woman that was afraid of going in that building as well, and kind of talking her through that, don't give it that power. And it might not be the terrifying thing you think it is, but
right.
Be diligent, be aware. And it was, it was an interesting story, and to see the similarities between these two properties, the two families, the heartbreak from both of these families, and what was going on with the stories. It was great for me. I just really enjoyed it, but I love watching it come together.
Yeah. So in all, I really enjoyed it because it seemed like it was solid from beginning to end. It really was, you got a full paranormal spectrum from beginning to end. You got your, metaphysical investigation, for lack of a better term. You got your psychic investigation. You got your physical investigation with your tools. And in the end, you had some sort of solution for a client. Well,
thank you. That's means a lot. I appreciate it. And it's, It's exciting to be a part of this program. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping that it takes off and does well, and I hope people continue to keep supporting it and watching it. So let's talk movies real quick.
Sure.
Just in a quick in and out with Joker, since it's not really a paranormal themed show or supernatural, but it is, pop culture and stuff that we do like. The Joker, kind of a new standalone DC universe offering a possible origin story for one of its most iconic villains, starring Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. Robert De Niro's in the movie as well. Mm-hmm. Just a fascinating program. But what did you think of it? I didn't get a chance to see it yet, and I got to tell you, from the commercials, it hasn't grabbed me. I just, as a lifelong Batman and Joker fan, I just personally haven't seen the sizzle that made me go, yeah, I got to see this.
I think as someone who has been a lifelong Batman fan, if you read the comics and you're a comic book fan, you might be left a little taken aback by it. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're a movie fan, you're going to love the movie. You're going to love this movie. And I think what it is that movie critics who see this movie see the interpretation that Joaquin Phoenix has taken. And what they've done, and what Todd Phillips has done with this movie, is he's taken elements of The Killing Joke and some other influences, and they put it together in a script. And they've represented that element of the Joker. So that's essentially, it's that story. And that's a pretty fair interpretation of what this is. This is the Joker as he's come about in the Killing Joke story. It's the Joker developing before Batman's come along.
Right.
So Thomas Wayne is your protagonist in this movie. It's not Batman. So if you're hoping to see Batman in this movie, you won't see him. That's fair to say.
Interesting. So it takes its own tack, but I mean, does a movie about a villain and how he, maybe the reluctant villain, comes into his position, is it interesting? Is it fascinating? Or did you feel like it fell short?
No, it's very interesting, and I'll give Joaquin Phoenix this. He is a very interesting character study, and it does hold its own. However, there is some pacing problems, and there's one or two logic problems in this movie that, of course, I won't go into for spoiler reasons. But this is only if you're a comic book fan. Do you look at this movie and go, well, no, you know what? Even as a movie fan, if you look at this, you go, you know what? I do have a problem with, let's just say that the movie is very much a slow turn movie, and it has a very much a slow pace. It's very well written. And he takes you through this, what's supposed to be he's mentally ill to begin with in the movie, or at least, that's the impression. And there's a slow descent into further madness. But there are some details in there that you kind of go, you know what, this really doesn't make sense. Even though mental illness shouldn't make sense. There are a few logic problems, but overall, it's a very good movie. And that's, I think, one of the things, again, you have to suspend your disbelief, and you have to go into it thinking, you know what, I'm really going to just let them tell this story. And I don't want to go into it with the aspersion of this is a classic Joker villain that I've seen in the comic book. This is a classic Joker villain I've seen in the movie. This should be a Joker, period.
Right.
Yeah, you can't go into it with weighing it as a movie villain or a comic villain. If you do that, you'll fully enjoy the movie, and I think you'll come out of it thinking that was a good movie. I don't think this, honestly, I think for movie critics, they're going to thoroughly enjoy it, and they'll fall all over themselves wanting to throw awards at Joaquin Phoenix. I think for the average person, they'll think this is a good movie, but not great.
All right. That's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah.
So that's the Joker out of 5 stars. 1, it sucks. 5, it's amazing. Where would you put the Joker?
See, I struggled with this because after I came out of the movie, I thought good, but not great. And then I thought, well, maybe it's a little better than just good. I would say 3.25 out of 5.
All right.
And I'm reaching to give it as good of a rating as I can, because
see, that's the whole thing is I'm just from the ratings and people I appreciate and are reporting on this. There's just nothing dynamic enough for me to want to go out and see it in a theater. I think it'll be a red box special for me, a $1.50 rental for me and my family. I just am in no mood to. And that was, I even got a chance to see it for a free screening and I passed. It's very, I don't know. I feel a disconnect to the character, and maybe it's in the way that he's represented in the commercials, the makeup-y clown thing, and it's just too much on the heels of it. And I don't know. I didn't feel the connection. So it's interesting to hear that you're kind of struggling with how you feel about it. Maybe it's one of those movies after you see it 2 or 3 times. You make a full call on it, It's
more Travis Bickle and less Joker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of what I got. That's my understanding of it. Yeah.
That's exactly what the character is.
All right, buddy. Well, let's get started. We have supernatural news to report. Plus, we have your phone calls, your stories, paranormal encounters from our listeners. And how do you do that? How do you be a part of the show? Well, you call in. And I'm glad that my call to arms, my kind of berating listeners to finally get off their asses and make the calls is working. We've got people calling in, sharing their stories, and we want to hear you. For God's sakes, it's October, folks. It's time to stop being so stingy. Shake loose your tales of strange supernatural wonderment. We don't care what kind of story it is. Angels, demons, ghosts, Ouija boards, psychic phenomena, monsters, myths, legends. We want to know what you've experienced and what type of activity you've had. Or perhaps it was something that your mom or dad or grandpa or grandma told you about some paranormal experience. We'd love to hear those. How do you do it? Give us a call on our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977. 651-300-4977, just like this caller did.
Hi, Tim and Dave. Long-time listener, first-time contributor. I have a story to share. I'm one of those people who seems to be a magnet for the strange. And today I'd like to tell you about one of the earlier events I can recall. I'd rather not share my name or location. I'm kind of a public figure in my community. If I thought people could connect these stories to me, well, I worry they might think I'm nuts, or I'd lose credibility, or worse. I grew up in a small colonial village in southern New Hampshire. My house was on a long, secluded dirt road, not a lot of anything close by, and miles of woods to explore all around me. I'm almost 40, so I'm old enough to remember life without the internet, when freedom was a day off at school, BMX bike, and the open road. My partner in crime was my buddy Ryan. He lived about a mile down the road from me, and on any given day, we'd make plans to explore and go get into trouble. If I close my eyes, I can still remember what it was like to ride down that old road. The sound of my tires crunching the packed earth, the smell of the fallen leaves, moss growing around the base of huge oak trees that lived in the road along with the crumbling stone walls that framed my view. One day, Ryan and I decided to ditch our bikes and hop the stone wall, search the woods. Like I said, this road was secluded, and sometimes if we were lucky, we'd find someone's discarded collection of Playboys or a bottle of whiskey with a sip or two left in it. We hid our bikes and headed into the woods. It was a perfect fall day, sunny, crisp. In the distance, we could hear the faint buzz of a single-engine plane or maybe a far-off lawnmower. We walked aimlessly for about half an hour, looking at hollow logs, kicking over the occasional rotting mushroom. We crested a small rise, and Ryan poked me in the shoulder and pointed to the clearing below. There before us was a nearly perfect circle of boulders, maybe 8 or 9 moss-covered granite monoliths. We hurried down to see. They were taller than us, but we didn't feel crowded. There was space to walk between them, and all in all, the circle was maybe 20 feet across. Stones were old, and it seemed obvious that someone must have moved them there, but they were so weathered we couldn't see any marks or anything on them that would give us a clue. We climbed on them and spent some time guessing what they were for before we moved on. That's when things got strange. As we left the circle, the woods got real quiet. Not just animal noises, but the background noises that you don't notice until they stop. The distant rattle of a semi's air brakes, a plane, a car, that was all suddenly gone. We both noticed it and decided to get moving, but for some reason the woods didn't seem as familiar. Little landmarks we noticed weren't there, and the trees seemed off. Like there should have been more pine, but there was birch and hemlock. We wandered for hours, and I felt despair settle into the pit of my stomach for the first time in my short life. We were well and truly lost, and it felt permanent. Normally talkative, we got quiet. I could see the worry in Ryan's eyes that must have mirrored my own. I'm not sure if we intended to or not, but after a long while we circled back to the stones. Here at last was some kind of familiarity. I remember Ryan saying something about how they didn't seem as mossy. I said it must be that we were approaching them from the south. Moss grows on the north side, right? We walked back through the circle, and as soon as we passed out the other side, the sounds we were used to flooded back. Road noise, planes, everything. The woods looked more normal, too. We recognized one thing, then another, and before long we came across our bikes and the road. Talking as we rode home, we knew something strange had happened. Yeah, we were kids, barely teens, but we weren't stupid. We both had our theories, but one thing we agreed upon was that we had to go show someone what we found. We had to go back. We tried. Several times we tried. Together, with friends, with my parents. I even went back years later by myself. We never found those stones again. Although now that I think about it, I lost track of Ryan. I haven't heard from him in a very long time. I wonder maybe if he went back and found those stones. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to hear another story, I have plenty. UFOs, ghosts, alien encounters, premonitions, psychic ability. I have been blessed or cursed with them all. Or if you want to talk zombies, I wrote a novel one of you might enjoy. I'll even send you a copy. Just let me know your P.O. box, and I'll get it out to you. Peace.
And we're back. This is Beyond the Darkness. Great call. Thank you for calling in and being a part of the show. 651-300-4977. Or you can always email me your stories, Dave@darknessradio.com. Tim, where are we going to go in the world of supernatural news?
Salem, Oregon, Dave, where 5 bulls were found dead. And then the story gets weird. It's kind of like college days.
I don't remember this in my college days, but do go on.
Well, or the first days in radio, one or the other. There were some wild days in Wisconsin, I won't lie.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Theories about what happened to these bulls have included bugs. I don't ever know of a bug killing a bull. Them being mutilated in a spaceship or the work of a cult, one or the other, Dave. The first dead bull was found in a timbered ravine in eastern Oregon. There was no indication it had been shot, attacked by predators, or eaten by poisonous plants. The animal's sex organs and tongue had been removed, and all the blood was gone. Eerie. In the next few days, four more Hereford bulls were found within 1.5 miles in the same condition. There were no tracks around the carcasses. Ranch management and law enforcement suspect law enforcement suspect that someone killed the bulls. Ranch hands have been advised to travel in pairs and to go armed. Ever since the bulls were found over several days in July, Harney County Sheriff's Deputy Dan Jenkins, Reedon's Hard, has received many calls and emails from people speculating what or who might be responsible. The theories range from scavengers such as carrion bugs eating the carcasses to people attacking the animals to cause financial harm to ranchers. One person suggested that Jenkins look for craters underneath the carcasses, saying it would be evidence that the bulls had been levitated into a spaceship, mutilated, and then dropped back to the ground. Jenkins, who is leading the investigation that also involves state police, has run into only dead ends with no witnesses. If anyone has concrete information or knows of any of the cases that have been solved in the past, that would definitely be helpful, he said, from his office in Burns. Colby Marshall, vice president of the Sylvies Valley Ranch that owns the bulls, has another theory. We think that this crime is being perpetuated by some sort of a cult, he said. The case recalls mutilations of livestock across the West and Midwest in the 1970s that struck fear in rural areas. Thousands of cattle and other livestock were found dead with the reproductive organs and sometimes part of their faces removed in territory ranging from Minnesota to New Mexico.
Yikes.
Yeah. Ranchers began carrying guns Folks said helicopters had been heard around the kill sites. A federal agency canceled an inventory by helicopters of its lands, or in Colorado, rather, worried that it would get shot down. A couple of U.S. senators urged the FBI to investigate, according to FBI documents. After saying it lacked jurisdiction, the FBI agreed to investigate cases on tribal lands, but the mutilation stopped. Former FBI agent Kenneth Rommel, who headed the investigation, said there was no indication that anything other than common predators was responsible. Cases have emerged sporadically since then. In the 1980s, a few cows were found dead and mutilated in eastern Oregon. More recently, there have been cases on a ranch near Flagstaff, Arizona. Some of the mutilations can be attributed to natural causes. An animal drops dead, the blood pools at the bottom of the carcass bloats, and the skin dries out and splits. The tears often appear surgical. Carrion bugs, birds, and other scavengers go for soft tissues like rectum, genitals, udders, and eyes.
I damn near killed them.
That's right.
Yeah, I watched that documentary where they talked about all this and the natural things that could make it happen. The weird thing is, though, how many of these, granted, your cow goes missing for a week, you find it later and it looks like this and it's vivisected and looks like it's been alien abducted. And yeah, I understand that there's a lot of nature that can do this and make it look that way. But there are the ones where the cow is fine one day and they go out and they find it completely looking like this the next, which doesn't seem to add up to the timeline of how long it takes for these natural occurrences to take place.
Mm-hmm. Dave Bonert, director of Oregon State University's Eastern Oregon Agricultural Center in Burns, says he believes people killed the Silvies bulls because there's no indication they were felled by predators or had eaten poisonous plants. However, the state of the carcasses could be attributable to nature, said Bonert, who is not officially investigating the case. If people killed the bulls, a motive could be to financially harm the ranch, he said, noting that breeding bulls cost thousands of dollars each, and the 100-plus calves each of them sire are collectively worth much more. Marshall doubts it was a malicious attack on the ranch, which employs 75 people, many from local communities. Silvies Valley Ranch covers 140,000 acres of deeded and leased national forest lands around a mile above sea level. In 2006, a wealthy veterinarian bought the ranch and made it a combination working ranch and elite destination resort. It has 4 golf courses, a spa, shooting ranges, fishing, and luxury cabins going for up to $849 a night. That's a nice little setup. Marshall suspects the bulls were killed to get the organs of the free-ranging bulls for some reason. The bull parts would be available cheaply or free at a slaughterhouse, but he believes some people are going to a lot of trouble to get these parts on the range. There's no sign that scavengers remove the organs of the bulls, and instead someone using a knife or scalpel probably did, Marshall said. To lose a completely healthy animal would be an oddity, Marshall went on to say. To lose 5 young, very healthy, in great shape, perfect bulls that are all basically the same age, that is so outside the bounds of normal activity. Marshall speculates that the bulls were darted with a tranquilizer that knocked them out, while some people acted as lookouts. Others bled the animals out by inserting a large gauge needle into the tongue and into an artery, then removed the organs after the heart stopped beating, he surmised. Jenkins, the deputy, has a similar theory. Personally, I would lean more towards the occult, where people, for whatever reason, whether it's a phase of the moon or whatever rituals are going to do with their beliefs, are coming to different areas and doing that, he said. The Oregon Cattlemen's Association is offering a $1,000 reward for information leading to the conviction of those responsible. The ranch is offering a $25,000 reward. There you go.
What do you think of in those cases? Do you think it's nature taking its course, or do you think that there is, some kind of nefarious activity taking place?
I think when it's 5 at one time, it's either some sort of pestilence that's moved through that herd and dropped them all at the same time, or there's something afoot there. Something's definitely wrong. I don't know about aliens. I'm
not saying it's aliens, but it's
you think it's aliens?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my take on it. I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. But you know what I'm not wrong about?
What's that?
This. It's a letter from one of our beloved listeners, Tim.
Okay.
Hi, Dave and Tim. That's what it says here. I'm just listening to your Hatman episode, and I have seen the Hatman. I was 11 or 12 years old. My mother and I lived in a house top of Laurel Mountain in Pennsylvania. My room had a built-in wooden bunk bed, and I slept on the bottom bunk. I awoke one night to the room being pitch black, and I rolled to my left side, which I would be facing the door, and there, leaning against the bed near my head, was a solid black form of a man. His left arm was up, and his head was resting on it, leaning in, looking at me. I could make out that he was wearing a vest or a short jacket, and he moved his head, and I noticed a wide brim hat. I felt such a panic because he was very real looking. I flipped on my back and suddenly got a sense it was okay, that it was just my grandfather who had passed away before I was born. But for some reason, I didn't believe it, and I closed my eyes thinking, it's not real, over and over again. But when I opened my eyes, he was still there. But this time, even though I was afraid, I couldn't move this time. So I kept taking deep breaths, keeping my eyes closed until I fell asleep. But I could feel him there, watching me the entire time. If you'd like to use this on your show, please do, but just don't use my name. Thank you, Penny. Oh, son of a biscuit.
Oh, what did you do that for?
Sorry, Penny. Damn it, I did it again.
Oh.
All right. Where's our next supernatural news tale going to take us, sir?
Well, we're going to be talking about a dancer in Michigan who unfortunately was mistaken for a trauma victim when she was wearing gory zombie face makeup when she was brought into a Michigan hospital.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Whoops. You probably shouldn't be brought to the hospital in zombie makeup.
No, that'll set a panic, won't it?
It will, slightly, yeah. A professional dancer caused a major scare at a Michigan hospital when she sought medical attention for a panic attack and arrived wearing realistic zombie makeup. Whoops. Jai Fears is an experienced dancer who has performed with big names like Aretha Franklin and Charlie Wilson and is used to extreme makeup and outfits for shows. But as she was getting her makeup done for a Halloween marketing campaign on Monday that transformed her into a gory zombie with fake teeth and bloody gashes, she suffered a bad reaction about 3 hours in, and it triggered a panic attack. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Just looking at some of the pictures here. It literally shot up to my brain and it caused a really bad reaction, Fears said to Fox 2. We're getting ready to do a photo shoot to some marketing for glam gore for people who want to get their makeup done for the Halloween season, she added. Fears was rushed to Beaumont Hospital, Royal Oak, Monday evening seeking treatment. At first, hospital personnel were horrified when Fears arrived, not realizing she was wearing very convincing face makeup. They said, let's get her back to trauma now. And she's probably going into shock. She's not making any sense. Fears said she was shocked that doctors couldn't tell her face injury was fake. Yikes. They have to know. So no, I did not say anything because I just assumed they could see that it was fake, she said. Guess they couldn't. After being treated, she was stabilized and released from the hospital. The hospital issued a statement following the incident. The emergency room is not a place for fun and games. They see many patients with severe medical issues where lives are at stake. Doctors need to be able to focus on those patients with true emergencies, the hospital went on to say. Fears shared scare on Facebook saying, let me please say anxiety is no joke or laughing matter. It was a serious situation that happened at a strange time. There you go.
Jeez. It's always something, Tim. Dave and Tim, I saw the Hat Man in New Orleans. My girlfriend, now wife, and I were staying at a hotel in the French Quarter, Tim.
Oh, the French Quarter.
The French Quarter. Mm-hmm. The hotel was very active. We had several paranormal things happen during our stay, but the Hat Man was the most disturbing. I was looking out the hotel window. I could see across the courtyard into the rooms on the other side of the hotel. In a room directly across the courtyard stood a man in a fedora and long coat. He was staring at me, and I at him. I was thinking, who the F is this guy staring at? Then I got an odd feeling. This was no man. I yelled to my wife, hey, babe, look at this guy with the fedora staring into our room across the courtyard. She said, he's not across the courtyard. He's in our room.
Ooh.
There he was, right there, inside the room, by the window I was looking out of. I yelled, Jesus Christ! and he was gone. Although I wonder if it wasn't like a scare Jesus Christ. I wonder if it was more of a demanding, like, you get out of here because I know Jesus kind of thing. Was it more like, Jesus Christ? Or was it Jesus Christ? I'm not sure which version of that was put out there, Tim, but that's the story. What's our next news story?
I was going to say that might be up to your interpretation there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. We go to Arizona, Dave, where a 6-year-old boy dies after his father tries to perform an exorcism on him. That's according to police. An Arizona man was arrested in connection to the death of his 6-year-old son after he told investigators he poured hot water down the boy's throat to rid the child of a demon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, probably not the right thing to do, I'm guessing. Pablo Martinez told police he was performing an exorcism on the little boy Thursday because the child was demonic and had a demon inside of him. The boy's adoptive mother, Romelia Martinez, told detectives that her son had been acting demonic and her husband offered to give the boy and the other child a bath. She told police that she could hear gurgling coming from the bathroom, and when she opened the door, she saw Pablo Martinez holding the 6-year-old underneath the faucet in the bathtub. This according to the complaint. Romelia Martinez said she yelled at him to stop, and he told her that he had to do it. She then called the pastor, and when he did not answer, she called 911. Why was the first call not to 911?
You know, Tim, there's a hierarchy of things. Sometimes 911 slips past a few other calls. That's all.
Gosh. She then told the operator that at the time her husband was attempting CPR and poured cold water on the child. Oh, dear God. Pablo Martinez told investigators he poured hot water down the boy's throat to try and cast out the demon after he witnessed the boy have an unnatural fit of rage. Oh, of course, yeah, sure. He said the child was under the water for 5 to 10 minutes, the complaint states. The other child eventually left the bathroom in tears, as would be expected. Pablo Martinez told investigators that he thought the hot water was working to cast out the demon. He was taken into custody on a first-degree murder charge. Police found the child in a room propped up against a pillow. He was rushed to the hospital. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. According to court documents, the boy had burn marks on 15% of his body, including his head, elbow, and forearms. Authorities said Romelio Martinez is a member of the Pascua Yaqui Indian Reservation near Tucson. Pablo Martinez is not a member. The reservation and the Pascua Yaqui Police Department did not immediately return requests for comment. The child was a student at Lynn Urquidez Elementary School in Tucson. A school spokesperson confirmed, "It is with deep regret and sadness that I inform you of the death of one of our students. Our counselors are available to help staff and any students who are struggling with the death or issues that may surface," the school said in a statement. "Our sincerest condolences go out to the family."
No doubt. Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah, folks, don't do your own exorcism. Try calling an expert. Exorcisms are usually free, first of all.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can get a good deal through Groupon. I don't know, Tim. Is there a Groupon coupon
I believe
for
there is.
exorcisms?
I think Johnny Zaffis offers one, yeah.
So don't just, you can't boil a demon out. That's not how it's done. Not how it's done at all. Let's clear the palate and take a break. We'll come back. We've got more right after this. Calling all true crime fans, the Court Junkie podcast is now once a week on Podcast One. Imagine being wrongfully convicted for a crime you didn't commit, or a killer is still on the loose even though there's enough evidence for an arrest. The Court Junkie podcast shines a light on the injustices of the judicial system through deep dives into court documents and interviews with those closest to the case. Download new episodes of Court Junkie podcast every week on Apple Podcasts and Podcast One.
Beyond the darkness.
We're back. This is Beyond the Darkness. I'm Dave Schrader. That's Tim Dennis, and this is the phone number to call, 651-300-4977. That's our Voices from Beyond voicemail. We want to hear your real-life experiences with the supernatural, just like this caller.
Hello, Dave and Tim. My name is Ty from Pennsylvania, and I just wanted to call in and give you 3 quick stories with my experiences of the supernatural. The first story comes from when I was about 13 years old. My mom and I were on vacation in Colonial Williamsburg, and we were doing one of the witch hunt reenactments that they do there. And when the hunt came to a conclusion, we were walking around waiting for my dad to pick us up. And as we were walking around, we passed the old Mary Washington house. And I looked in and I saw all these people in dress, and they were eating and drinking and laughing and having a good time. And so I went to my mom and I said, hey, let's go in there. Let's check out what they're doing. That seems pretty cool. We can go in there while we wait for Dad. And she says, all right. And we go and we walk around the corner. And as we go around the corner, the house is pitch black. Not a soul to be found or heard from. And my mom and I still chalk it up to I must have just been having one of those experience of history's past taking place inside of that historical building. The second story comes, again, I was on vacation. We decided to go to Salem, Massachusetts for Halloween. Decided to spend the most Halloween in one of the coolest places to celebrate Halloween. And as we were there, we were walking around the streets, enjoying all the shows and the fairs and the vendors and stuff that are there. And then as we were on our way home, I get real excited and say, I want to stop in one of the witches' shops. I want to stop in one of the witches' shops. So the friends that I was with stopped, and we pulled over and went into this witch store, and I bought all this witch stuff. I bought a wand and a box with a pentagram on it, and sage and oils and all this paraphernalia from this witch store. We go home, we go back, we go to sleep, we wake up the next morning, and they were like, what all did you get at that shop? And I was going through, I was like, what shop? I had no memory or recollection of going into this witch store and buying all of this stuff. And to this day, they all believe that I had some weird witchy possession that made me get all excited and have me buy all this witch paraphernalia that I never needed or never used. And I absolutely have no memory of doing it. My last and final story for today is the most recent story, and one that we are still dealing with. My wife's uncle had recently passed, and he was a environmental engineer. So he worked all over the world in tons of zoos and stuff, places like that. He was a big collector of stuff, always brought stuff back from his trips. And when he passed, we went down to clean out his house and clean out all this stuff. And as we were cleaning it out, we were selecting some of the cooler things that we thought we'd like to keep and have. So we brought all this stuff home from his house and put it around our home, decorated our house with it, just kept it around as really nice mementos. And we have never had any type of paranormal experience in our home. We lived there for 5 years. And within this last year, the paranormal activity in our house has ramped all the way up. We have things that go flying off the walls. We have wine glasses that get smashed off the rack. Pictures get taken off the wall and thrown across the floor. Crazy activity. And we hear footsteps going up and down our stairs, and we have a big wooden landing at the bottom of our staircase. And you can always hear that big thump on the floor when somebody reaches the bottom of our stairwell. So all this activity is taking place, and my wife and I keep looking at each other, and we are going, what is going on in this house? We've never experienced any of this. And so we start thinking, like, what changed, or what's new, or what's different that could be causing this activity, or did somebody bring some spirit home with them? And my wife says, well, maybe it's something we brought back from our uncle's house. and we start going around the whole house and trying to collect every single thing that we got from them to put it in a box and get it put away to try to calm down the activity. And we get a good amount of this stuff put away, but some of it was just so cool we had to keep it. We had a African mask and a African staff that was carved and came from Zimbabwe that her uncle brought home while he was over there. And it just looked so cool on our wall, we had to keep it up. So we kept it up, and we took everything else to my wife's storage unit. We put everything in the storage unit. We think, all right, maybe it was something that was attached to his belongings, and we are good now. A couple weeks go by, things are pretty calm. My wife and I both come home. The mask and the cane are thrown in the center of the floor, laying in our living room. And we both looked at each other and went, well, guess we missed the object. So we ended up just taking everything in the storage unit, and we're just going to let it sit there until we sell it at a yard sale and somebody else can enjoy the haunted possession for themselves. Thank you so much for letting me share some of my paranormal experiences with you. I have been a big fan for the last 6 years, subscribing to everything and following everything we can. I really appreciate the quality content you put in. Tim, me and a coworker who introduced me to Darkness Radio always joked that one day we were just going to move to Minnesota and join IWI. So if Hard Mark is still listening, Hard Mark from Skid Loader, still waiting for us to head out and wrestle in those IWI things. Thanks again, guys. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
All right, Tim, where are we off to next?
Oh, this is actually kind of a cute story, Dave. We're going to a story in Long Island where a ghost and its pet are caught on camera in some shocking footage. I don't know that that's shocking. I think it's kind of cute, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I guess it's shocking because normally you wouldn't think it'd be a ghost and their pet.
Well, true. Yeah.
That's kind of the shocking part. We've heard of ghost animals or animal ghosts. We've heard of people ghosts, but seeing them together, that brings some hope, right? That means that my amazing dogs and cats will be there waiting for me at some point.
Yeah. Joey Nolan and his wife were shocked to find what appeared to be a human-like spirit walking around their Long Island, New York home, along with a smaller animal-like pet of some sort. The pair, who checked into their home security footage after learning their cat was sick, immediately shared the strange clip with friends and family, which went viral after posting it on YouTube. To make things even more eerie, just weeks earlier, both Nolan and his wife had the exact same dream about a dog, only to have the apparition show up on camera shortly after. I said to her that maybe the spirit of a dog hopped into bed with us the night we had the dream, Nolan shared. Initially, I tried to play it off as a cobweb, flies, dust, but the actual steps the figure takes in the kitchen is strange. It's kind of interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Does it look ghostly to you? What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, it looks a little ghostly, that's for sure. It right. Definitely looks like a figure. I'll give it that.
All right.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Interesting.
Where are we off to next?
Next, we go to the world's biggest ghost hunt. Penhurst Asylum is the longest televised ghost hunt ever, according to this article. A&E's world's biggest ghost hunt, Penhurst Asylum, is, as the title suggests, quite possibly the biggest ghost hunt we'll ever see. It's a 2-hour event, and it'll take viewers on the most ambitious record-breaking ghost hunt ever documented. World's biggest ghost hunt, Penhurst Asylum, will be the first of its kind, a long, continuously shot episode that will place 5 paranormal investigators within one of the most haunted places on Earth for 2 weeks straight. With only a film crew and flashlights on hand, investigators will have to endure an entire fortnight of terrifying supernatural encounters, assuming that they can brave their way through the entire record-breaking duration. Penhurst Asylum has a bone-chilling history. Back in the day, when low-quality mental hospitals were commonplace, patients unfortunately endured notoriously horrible living conditions that would leave them malnourished and teetering on death. And if that's not morbid enough, these mental hospitals stayed open until late into the 20th century, so the seedy history isn't too long ago. These supposedly haunted places are hotspots for investigators due to their lingering supernatural presence. And Penhurst itself was open from 1905 to 1987, which wasn't too long ago, and held around 10,000 different patients. Most of these patients happened to be children, and they endured the cruelest of conditions. It's become one of the most infamous locations in the paranormal. Full-body apparitions, physical attacks, and mysterious noises are often reported by brave travelers and curious investigators. The owner of Pennhurst has granted this ghost hunting team access to the entire 110-acre property that no one had ever seen before. This includes areas that have yet to be explored. The team will be strapped with the latest and most cutting-edge tech, allowing for the longest and most thorough investigation yet. The night won't be quite over yet, however, since the season finale of Ghost Hunters will follow right after. The finale will follow leader Grant Wilson and his hand-picked team of paranormal investigators taking on some of the other most haunted places in the U.S. The team will include paranormal investigators Daryl Marston, Kristen Luman, Brandon Elvis, Mustafa Gadalari, Brian Murray, and Rochelle Stratton. And the locations they're exploring include some of the most aggressive supernatural phenomenon that disturb residents or neighbors. So there you go. That's Wednesday, October 30th, the day before Halloween at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on A&E. That's when the world's biggest ghost hunt takes place.
Very cool. And a good friend of ours, Allie, who's a listener and friend of the show for a long time, is one of the cast members of that series.
Very cool.
So congratulations, Allie. All right, Tim, where are we going to next?
The question is being asked, is the Department of Internal Affairs being trolled, or do ghosts really roam its halls, Dave? Scientific study or a troll of Wellington's halls of power? Either way, one government department is being grilled over its connection to the paranormal. The Department of Internal Affairs has been tasked with helping investigators discover if its Wellington headquarters is haunted. This request under the Official Information Act includes 2 years of air conditioning sensor readings in absolute detail. It was also asked whether it had plans in place to alleviate paranormal incidents. The department says its OIA response will cover many of these questions. Lodged by NZ paranormal investigators on a public website for official information requests, the OIA has forced the department to ponder whether ghosts roam its Pipitea Street premises. I take it it's not in this country, and expend time and person power answering a hefty set of detailed inquiries. In 2014, then Prime Minister Dave.
Your Prime Minister.
Prime Minister John Key's own office could provide no data in an OIA response to disprove the leader of the nation was a lizard person. Well, that's good. That's always a good request to submit. Less than 2 years later, he had resigned. The paranormal request to the DIA started by saying it was regarding a matter of considerable interest relating to your head office building. It requested all information about potential paranormal, supernatural, haunting-related occurrences in the building and its surrounds. This included all concerns raised by staff and all internal discussions. They also requested hard data from air conditioning temperature sensors and any electromagnetic sensory equipment. Going back to when the department first moved into the building in 2017, capping the request, the investigators wanted to know information about any measures that you have taken, plan to take, or have considered taking to examine or alleviate a potential paranormal situation. A DIA spokesman could not say if the department was concerned about ghosts or whether it had procedures in place to deal with them. Much of this information would be included in the official response due soon. As outlined in Stuff's Redacted series, the official information system has come under fire as being gamed by government staff to the detriment of the public. However, the spokesman said the department took all official information requests seriously. Each OIA request is unique, and in the year ending June 2019, Internal Affairs responded to more than 1,000 OIA requests. The exact time and cost of requests, such as the paranormal inquiry, were difficult to say. It depends on the information sought, how much information is within scope, and its availability, accessibility, or if it exists at all. And that was...
weird.
Yeah, definitely weird.
Hey, let me make a quick mention, Tim. Tomorrow's show is interesting. Tomorrow is the entire cast of the Holzer Files. Earlier this week, I got a chance to sit down with Cindy Kaza, the medium, Shane Pittman, the tech, Alexandra Holzer, the daughter of Hans Holzer, who I don't think we visited with her on our show in probably about a decade. But she's joining us, and Gabe Roth, the researcher from the Holzer Files, they're going to join us on tomorrow's program. It is a full interview that we got a chance to do. It's a little bit longer than normal episode. I hope you guys enjoy it, but give you a little insight into our backgrounds. We did this interview before the first episode aired. We recorded it when I was able to get everybody together. So I hope you'll all tune in and check that out. That's tomorrow on the Best in Paranormal Talk Radio. Where are we going next, sir?
We're going to Chile, Dave. Chile.
Chile. All right. Hot today, Chile tomorrow?
That's right. I'm able to break up my...
Tamale. I'm so confused.
Tamale. Yes, it's tamale. Mysterious fireball that crashed and burned wasn't a meteor, Dave. It was something else.
What?
I know, right?
What was it?
Last week, bright flaming objects were spotted in the sky over the island of Chilo in southern Chile, before reportedly crashing to the ground and starting a series of small fires. Resident Bernardita Ojeda, that's what I'm changing my name to, by the way. Just to make
I like that. Bernardina Dennis?
Yes, Bernardita Dennis.
Or are you going to be Tim Bernardina?
No, I just like Bernardita. Bernardita Dennis. It rolls off the tongue.
It does.
Yeah, Bernardita Dennis. Yeah. Showed local Channel 2 news where something fell from the sky and burned some bushes on her property. Now, after a preliminary investigation, officials from Chile's National Service of Geology and Mining say they ruled out a disintegrating meteorite as the cause after failing to find any evidence of space rockets 7 points where fires were started. So what are we dealing with here? Just some superheated space junk re-entering the atmosphere, or is someone testing their space lasers on Chilean scrub? That's the name of my new album, by the way.
Chilean scrub.
Yeah.
I like that. I had some of that for my salad the other day. I'm not going to lie. It was, quite good. Good roughage. A little Chilean scrub,
Is it good for the colon?
Lives up to its name.
Good deal.
It'll scrub you out.
Good deal. Technically, we're talking about unidentified flying objects. Yes, UFOs that came flying from the sky, Dave. Although nothing big or well piloted enough to reopen the X-Files for anything, it would seem. After the story spread through social media last week, leading Chilean astronomer, Dave, astronomer.
One of them, they're astronomers, Tim?
And astrophysicist Jose Maza told national broadcaster TVN the object was likely either a meteorite or space debris. With meteorites ruled out, that would seem to indicate it was pieces of an old satellite or maybe a rocket booster that roasted bits of Chile. Oh, have you ever had the roasted bits of Chile there at Chili's?
That's some good stuff.
Oh, is it ever? The geologists who investigated the scenes told TVN they're performing a more detailed analysis of soil samples that will release their conclusions later in October. This could mean geologists found bits of metal that may indicate human-made space junk started the fire, but they're double-checking what type of material they found. It makes sense to ensure they haven't collected some other sort of metal or perhaps even a new element created by a far-off alien civilization that likes to announce itself by torching bushes. Ooh, that could be painful.
Good grief, yeah. Nobody wants their bush torched.
No, never. If that snark wasn't clear enough...
I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah,
Maybe there are a few people out there that don't mind a good bush scrubbing and a good bush burning from time to time.
Well, and some people have raised the earth, so to speak, so they don't necessarily need their bush torched. Just saying. If that snark wasn't clear enough, it's almost certainly wasn't aliens, is what the article says here. It's very rare for space debris to cause damage on the ground, as it usually falls in the ocean or remote areas. There have been occasional reports of rocket boosters doing damage following inland launches in China, but there's no report of anyone ever being killed or seriously injured by space junk. So if you get that there, Dave, space junk has never killed anybody. It's generally fallen in remote areas.
Oh, good God. I hate a bad case of space junk.
Did you?
Yeah, I got that in college once.
How'd you get rid of it?
Yeah, you don't even want to know, but it did entail burning bushes.
Oh, okay.
All right, where are we off to next, sir?
Bigfoot 911 posts photos of a strange figure at Lake James.
Ooh, Lake James.
I bet you didn't know there was a group called Bigfoot 911.
You're correct, I did not.
Well, there is. Members of Bigfoot 911 said they captured images of... I wonder if they just run around looking for Bigfoot emergencies.
Why not?
I guess so.
Well, maybe from time to time Bigfoot needs help.
Maybe.
Hey, I got my toe caught in the plug in my shower. Send some help.
I plugged up my drain.
That's right.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a burning bush that needs help.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Members of Bigfoot 911 said they captured images of a Sasquatch-type creature along the shoreline of Lake James after 1 a.m. Saturday, and the claim is getting statewide attention. That's over here by Lake James, I guess. John Bruner, founder of Bigfoot 911, said he and 3 other members used a boat Friday night and past midnight on Saturday to scout some locations for future expeditions. They were on the Linville side of Lake James, if you're familiar with where that is. We were actually just scouting for new locations for searching Bigfoot, he said to the McDowell News. The only gear we had were the night vision cameras. Bruner said his group had previously heard from witnesses who reported howling sounds on the Linville side of the lake, so Bigfoot 911 thought it was worth checking out. All of our research has been on the Catawba side, he added.
That's the actual audio they heard, Tim.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's good audio. It's very clear. The Bigfoot 911 members found a cove on the Linville side. When they got to the mouth of the cove, they turned the boat's motor off and let it float. We immediately heard movement on both sides of the cove, said Bruner, and we started hearing wood knocks. Bruner said the other two... Oh, there they are right there. That's very clear. Very clear.
Jimmy John's delivers.
I guess. Right there to Bigfoot. Right there,
yeah.
On the Linville side, evidently.
I'd like one of your Italian wraps, please. I'd like it in the lettuce, not the bun.
Because he's gluten-free. Bigfoot is. He's got a gluten allergy. Who knew?
The gluten's. It's like my wife.
Well, Bigfoot's a nature guy.
Listen, when you've got long hair covering your whole body, the last thing you want is diarrhea problems.
Oh, my God. I mean, it just gets matted in your fur.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I was going to read the rest of it, and it
decided you shall not?
Yeah.
You shall not pass, sir?
Oh, here we go. It came back. Okay. There we go. I reloaded it here. That's what Bigfoot said when he had a gluten wrap. We immediately heard movement on both sides of the cove, said Bruner. Then we started hearing wood knocks. That's that knock. There we go. Bruner then and the other had 2 night vision cameras and started scanning the shoreline. I immediately locked onto this creature and watched it for 5 minutes, he said. Oh, that voyeur. Look at him. The creature was swaying from the left to the right, and Bruner took 121 pictures of it. That pervert. The Bigfoot 911 members were about 50 yards away from the shoreline. Bruner said he estimated the creature stood at about 7.5 feet tall. The whole time I was watching this thing, we could hear tree knocks, and the figure that I saw was not the one doing the knocking, he said. There had to be at least...
Yeah, because when you're there, you'll be able to tell what real knockers are, Tim.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Especially if you
can separate the real knockers from the fake ones.
Exactly. Yeah. If you took 121 pictures, you should know which one's got the knockers. Just saying. There had to be 3 ones at least, is what he said. After about 5 minutes, the creature walked away, but the 4 members of Bigfoot 911 continued to hear tree knocks and whistling sounds for another 45 minutes coming from the dark woods along the lake. Do you think the big footies were whistling at them? Yeah, I think that's actual audio.
It's like cat calls. It's like construction worker cat calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Bigfoot's just sexually harassing the humans.
Yeah, that's what it was. Bruner said Bigfoot 911 intends to go back to that spot and do a 3-day expedition and gather more evidence or get whistled at because their ego needs it. This area was where we saw this was a 5-mile walk from Patty's Creek Campground, he said. The easiest way to get there is by boat. Bruner said he and the others did not feel like they were in any danger during this incident. Well, get trapped in the woods alone with them and you'll find out different. Those things just want to be left alone, he said. The photos captured by Bruner were posted on Bigfoot 911's Facebook page. I blew it up on my tablet and then studied the pics under an old-school magnifying glass, wrote G.L. Johnson on Facebook. Definitely a creature there, and in this pic, you can see not only a very faint outline of a face, but also a second creature leaning out to the right from behind a tree. In my honest opinion, it's the real deal. It's no shadows. Another person was not so sure. I think it's just where there's no foliage or trees, kind of like a trail or opening of some sort, wrote Christy Dodson. Good eye, Christy. So far, the Charlotte Observer, WBTV, and other media outlets across the state have reported on the sighting. So there you go. Yeah.
All right. Where are we off to next, sir?
Celebrity-owned New York mansion, once declared legally haunted, is on the market for $1.9 million, Dave.
Dollars.
I can't even say it. It's so much money. $1.9 million. The home's former owner asserted that ghosts regularly interacted with her family, including waking up her daughter each morning by shaking her bed. In 1991, the New York Supreme Court decided that a house was legally haunted in a famous case known as the Ghostbusters ruling. Now, 28 years later, that same house is back on the market. And Ghost Hunters, it could be yours for a cool $1.9 million.
Ooh, Tim, start saving up.
I got $1 of that.
Well, just 1.89999 million left to go, Tim.
That's right.
All.
That's right.
Yeah. Every journey starts with a step.
That's right.
Right.
I'll have it soon enough. Well, gorgeous both inside and out. That's what my mom used to tell me anyways. And located on an unassuming tree-lined street in the village of Nyack, New York, just 19 miles north of Manhattan. Why is this wanting me to take a quiz? No, People Magazine, no.
Wait, check out and find out if you're the perfect soulmate, Tim. Take that People quiz.
I'm not going to take that quiz. Okay, let's start over. Well, gorgeous both on the inside and out, and located on an unassuming tree-lined street in the village of Nyack, New York, just 19 miles north of Manhattan, the home has quite the eerie history. Known to many locals as the Ghost House, the home was owned once by a woman named Helen Ackley, who lived there from the 1960s through the 1980s. Ackley was adamant that spirits from the Revolutionary War era were present in the home. In a 1977 story in Reader's Digest, as well as several stories in the local newspaper, Ackley asserted that ghosts regularly interacted with her family, including waking up her daughter each morning by shaking her bed. When she finally went to sell the house in the late 80s, Ackley was sued by the man who had entered into a contract to buy it, Jeffrey Stambovsky, because she neglected to inform him that there was a supposed paranormal presence. Because it was widely known and published that Ackley believed the home to be haunted and therefore had created a stigma around the property, Stambovsky won the suit and was allowed to back out of the contract. The home officially was then dubbed haunted under the law. Located at Lavetta Place, the spirited Queen Anne Victorian home is located on the idyllic Hudson riverfront, boasting 4,628 square feet of living space. The property includes 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, stained glass windows, arched doorways, a 3-car garage, a sunroom, and a saltwater pool overlooking the river. Well, that's really nice. Actually, the pictures are really nice. Built in 1890, the property has been called home by several famous figures, including Definitely Maybe director Adam Brooks, who lived there for 20 years.
Definitely Maybe?
Yeah.
How do you kind of probably know that they lived there for 20 years? They either did or didn't.
Well, that's the name of the movie, Definitely Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that he definitely maybe lived there. I was confused.
No, including Definitely Maybe director Adam Brooks. Definitely Maybe is the name of the movie. Who lived there for 20 years, singer Ingrid Michaelson, who stayed there from 2012 to 2015, and most recently rapper Mattis Yahoo. Are you a big Mattis Yahoo fan, Dave?
No, I'm more mad at Google, to be honest with you.
Okay. Who has listed the house with Nancy Blaker Weber of Better Homes and Gardens Rand Realty. So Mattis Yahoo lived here, Dave. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to Weber, none of the home's past 3 owners reported seeing any ghosts. In fact, she says most Nyackers find the fact that the home is legally haunted simply amusing, herself included. This is the third time I've had the opportunity to list and sell this home, so I've logged a lot of time here, Weber tells People. If there's anything I've felt, it is the warmth and creative spirit that exists in this beautiful home. I've never experienced anything that would lead me to feel it's haunted. I just had to read it with that little emphasis on it because it just feels so genuine.
I like it.
Yeah. It seems the home's past residents agree. I absolutely adored living at 1 Lavetta, Michelson told the New York Post. It's a magical home. It's a memorable home. It's a home where people gather. It draws you in and comforts you. And the view is unbeatable. I moved back to the area from Los Angeles, and after touring for the better part of 10 years, Mattis Yahoo told the Journal News, when I stepped out onto the porch, I looked out at the view and immediately felt this was the place for me to live with my 3 boys and create my next record. So there you go.
Very cool.
Little endorsement from Mattis Yahoo, Dave.
Okay. If you say so. Hey, how about you be a part of the show, folks? How about instead of just Tim and I doing all the heavy lifting, why don't you get your asses in here? You're getting a free show.
Wow.
All we're asking for is a phone call. Is that so damn much?
Oh, well, for some people, maybe, Dave.
Not for this person. They give us a call, 651-300-4977. Here's their story.
Hey, Dave and Tim. Jesus once again from Texas, or Austin, Texas. Round Rock, Texas, actually. Just wanted to call and give y'all another story about Grandma Sharon, my ex's mom, who was telling you about her experience with the vacuum and ghosts. She also experienced something pretty crazy when it came to her family. Her mom actually had been sick, been hospital-ridden or bed-ridden for maybe a couple weeks or so. Like, they knew she was, dying, but, was still holding on little by little. And she said that one night she had this dream where she was sitting on a park bench, and next to her she seen her grandma, who had passed away a long time ago. Said that Grandma was just kind of sitting, staring straight ahead, not really saying anything, talking, just staring out basically into nothing. She looked over at her, said, "Hey, Grandma," tried conversing, but Grandma wouldn't even pay attention to her. And then all of a sudden, she noticed that, like, her sister and brother were in the dream as well. And, they were all, like, talking to her, like, trying to get her attention as well. But, she wouldn't say anything. She said that, maybe a day or two later, that's when her mom passed away. And it was almost like a sign that, she was waiting for, Grandma basically was waiting for Mom to cross over. Almost like she had that feeling like, man, she was there not necessarily for anyone else but her mom. So, once again, quick and to the point, just wanted to share a little bit of insight on this story for you. Thank you, sir. Or sirs.
Folks, sometimes you just have a bad week. That's just what it comes down to. Sometimes you just get a little caught in its bizarro world, and sometimes your football teams just don't perform the way they're supposed to. Well, that's kind of what happened to us last week in the NFL Weekly Pick'em Challenge. It's not going to happen this week, I guarantee it. Well, I won't guarantee it. You can't guarantee anything, but last week was just a bad week of NFL football. Thanks, Vikings. That's all I got to say about that. We only picked 2 correct last week, and, well, we'll turn it around this week. If you're playing along with us on the NFL Weekly Pick'em charity contest, we appreciate it. Stick with us, because this week is going to be much better. I won't guarantee it, but we'll get it right this week. Last week, we only picked 2 correct. I blame it on the luck of the Vikings. That's what I blame it on. But here's what we're going to do this week. These are our picks for this week. And by the way, it seemed to be a trend with like half of the people that we're picking with in this contest. If you're not familiar with it, we're playing against other Podcast One shows in the NFL Weekly Pick'em charity contest. And us, Stone Cold Steve Austin, didn't do very well. Adam Carolla did fairly well last week. CarCast did horribly, so we'll pick on them in a little bit. But yeah, it's some interesting picks for them this week as well. But we made some pretty good picks this week, so get your pen and paper out, because I'll tell you here in a second what we're picking this week. I'll tell you this much: we're going to stay away from the Vikings this week because they have a bit of a gotcha game coming up. So we're going to stay definitely away from them this week. I'll tell you that much. Now, here's what you can do if you want to get in on the game, and it's very simple for you to do. You can get in on the game, pick along with us, and there's a chance for you to win some money as well here. And this is what you do. It's real simple. You're just going to go visit our good friends and exclusive partner at Podcast One, betonline8.ag, to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. You sign up for a free account and make sure to use the promo code Podcast1 for your 50% sign up bonus. It's that simple. Go to Podcast One, betonline.ag, and sign up. And then you make your picks along with us. Use the picks that we're using right here. And you can qualify to win one of the $100 prizes. There's 5 of them in all. So we give away 5 $100 prizes each week if you pick the same picks that we pick. You see, you're part of our team. And we're going to get you going, and we're going to get you winning here if we're the winners that week. And we plan on being the winners this week with our picks. So here we go. These are the picks that we picked this week. And we're confident that we picked better than, let's say CarCast. I'm going to give you CarCast picks this week because I don't understand them. They picked the Chargers, which we picked too. The Eagles, okay, I get it. The Steelers, I don't get that pick. They're playing the Ravens this week, and the Ravens, much better team. But then here's their kicker, okay? The Vikings and the Giants are playing each other. They picked both the Vikings and the Giants. They're going to lose one of those two. That doesn't make any sense. CarCast, I don't know what you're doing. You confuse me. Anyways, here's what our 5 picks are for this week. So get your pens ready. Here we go. The Patriots over the Redskins on the road. Here's the rationale. Haskins is starting at quarterback, relatively young rookie. Patriots, awesome defense. Of course, you got Tom Brady, and even though he doesn't have the weapons, he definitely has the experience. He's going to pick apart the Redskins on the road. They're going to win that game. You get the Chiefs over the Colts at home, of course. The Chiefs are on a roll. They'll continue to be on a roll, and they'll be beating the Colts at home. The Bears and the Raiders are playing in England. And old Chucky there said that the head coach of the Raiders said that he feels they would need, get this, 5 downs to stop, or to get a first down on the Bears defense this week. He was paying, of course, a compliment to the Bears defense. With that kind of talk, I don't think the Raiders are going to overcome the Bears defense. I think the Bears will be in good shape, and they will beat the Raiders in England. So, again, Patriots, Chiefs, Bears are what we're picking so far. Chargers over the Broncos at home. I know you're saying, Tim, the Broncos haven't won a game yet. Of course you would pick the Chargers. Well, the Broncos are due. They've actually looked pretty good this season. And they're due. They're definitely due, but I don't think they're due this week. Vic Fangio is going to take yet another loss. And we're picking the Chargers at home. So you've got Patriots, Chiefs, Bears, Chargers. Your 5th game we're picking the Eagles, a lock over the Jets. Remember, you got to pick your game, your lock game in this contest as well. So the Eagles, a lock over the Jets, 28-10 at home. The Eagles are one of the hottest teams right now in the NFL, one of the most solid defenses in the NFL. And of course, Carson Wentz looks spectacular at quarterback. Even though they don't have their deep threats right now, they're finding a way around that. And the Eagles are coming together, and they're gelling at the beginning of this season, even in overcoming adversity. The Eagles over the Jets. This one looks to be a lock, 28-10. Take that one to the bank. So you've got Patriots, Chiefs, Bears, Chargers, Eagles, and a lock over the Jets, 28-10. Those are our picks. Those are our 5 picks this week in that contest. So those are our 5 picks. Make sure that you play along with us this week. And the way you do that is to go to Podcast One, betonline8.ag. Take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up for a free account. Make sure that you use that promo code Podcast One for your 50% sign-up bonus. Now, some of the NFL's Week 5 biggest matchups, you can bet on them at betonline.ag. They include Baltimore at Pittsburgh, Green Bay at Dallas, of course, the Indy-Kansas City matchup we talked about, and Cleveland at San Francisco. Also, you can bet on college football. There's Week 6 huge matchups there. Georgia at Tennessee, Auburn at Florida. Huge game there between two top 10 teams. Cal at Oregon, Iowa at Michigan, and Michigan State at Ohio State. You can bet on all those games there as well. And, of course, you got the Major League Baseball playoffs starting this week. You've got the Astros, the Yankees, our Minnesota Twins. The AL division leaders are all there and all available to bet on right now. And you've got the National League, the Dodgers, Braves, and St. Louis and Milwaukee, all battling for at the top of the NL division as well there. And you can bet on all those games starting this week as well. Again, visit betonline.ag. Don't forget that promo code podcast1 for your 50% sign-up bonus. betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
All right. We've got 2 more news stories to share. Where are we going next, Tim?
We're going to Springfield, I think this is Maine. Maine and Massachusetts are confusing to me, Dave, the abbreviation.
M-E is Maine.
Okay, then this is Massachusetts.
M-A is Massachusetts, which is where I am right now, in Salem, Massachusetts, with many, many massholes, Tim.
Oh, you can't say that, Dave.
That's what Jeff Belanger says I can say. He's a masshole. He says, no, dude, that's what we are. We're massholes.
Yeah, but he's a native. He can say that.
Right, but I'm his friend. I'm friends with a masshole, Tim.
Well, I'm a friend of his, too.
So therefore, I'm allowed to say they're masholes because he told me that they are.
Yeah, but I'm a friend of his, too, and I don't call him that. Just saying.
Well, I'm sorry. You're just not that close with him, I guess.
Wow.
All right, so where are we going, Springfield, Mass, or Springfield, Maine?
Springfield, Mass, Dave, where a photo...
Oh, right. This is what I've been waiting for. Springfield. My hometown.
This goes out to all you massholes, evidently. A photo appears to show a ghost girl in Springfield, and it goes viral. So it's a viral masshole. I don't know what that
means.
Yeah.
Well played.
Thank you. Halloween is still weeks away, not that far away. I mean, let's face it. But there's already a mystery gripping the city of Springfield on social media. An eerie, I don't know why I said it that way. An eerie snapshot posted to Facebook has over 1,000 shares already. Western Mass News spoke with the person who took the picture, trying to unravel the secret behind the ghostly apparition in the photo. In nearly every scary movie, haunted places are old, uninhabited, dark spaces. But MGM Springfield is now setting the scene for a possible spooky encounter. MGM Springfield is setting the scene for Sarah Allen's spooky encounter happening over the weekend. My friend was kind of messing with things that she shouldn't have been, and we thought it was funny, so we went to take a photo of her. Allen said, "This is never funny when you do this, dear Sarah." Just saying. It wasn't until the next morning that Allen said the photo taken of her friend at the casino revealed something more. Something she said seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. "Hey, what is that ghost child? Are you the kind of person who believes in ghosts?" 50-50, I'm like right on the fence, Allen said. Allen told Western Mass News she posted the ghost girl pictures online and made it public, and in just a few days, it pinged the radar of ghost skeptics and enthusiasts alike. "A lot of people have approached me and messaged me with stories," Allen explained. Of the more than 1,000 shares and comments, Allen said she received a message. There's a real girl allegedly from a person claiming to have a photograph taken from a different angle. Because it shows identifying features of other children, Allen asked us not to show it, the article is saying here. But the picture does depict a similar-looking girl rounding the corner with a group of people. That does show it is a human child, as far as we can tell. Seems pretty legitimate, Allen said. Though she believes the ghost story has been largely debunked, Allen said the picture was the perfect way to get the community in a scary frame of mind. "It was really fun. I enjoyed a lot of people's comments and stories and laughs," Allen said, just in time for Halloween. So evidently, it's
shit and shenanigans. Is that what I'm picking up here?
Yeah, I guess so. Shit and shenanigans and massholes for Halloween.
They go hand in hand, sir.
I guess so.
They go hand in hand. All right. Here's an email. Dave, did you ever get the feeling that things happen for a reason? I do. Years back, I was listening to Talk is Jericho, and he had a guest who had a Bigfoot podcast, the Sasquatch Chronicles. I had no interest in Bigfoot. None. But for some reason, this interview was compelling. The encounter, the information, it all seemed to resonate with me. I immediately subscribed to the podcast and started listening. I listened to the older episodes, starting with episode 1, and quickly caught myself up. Hearing others' encounters with this thing was also interesting and alarming. I was immersed. What does Bigfoot look like? Are there any sightings in the Pittsburgh area where I live? I told friends and relatives about the podcast. I learned what to look for in case I would encounter a Bigfoot. Well, so far, this is a pretty compelling infomercial for that other podcast,
yeah,
Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yeah.
No real mention of our show at this point, but let's see where this goes. Fast forward to a year or so later, after I started listening to the podcast, my wife, myself, and our young daughter, 2 or 3 years old at the time, were headed to her grandparents' lake house in Hamilton, Indiana. I, of course, had checked the BFRO website to see if there were any sightings near the lake houses, but nothing in the immediate area. As we pulled into the house, it was well after midnight. We had a vehicle to unpack, and in most cases, my wife and I emptied the car before removing our sleeping child to take her inside. As I stepped out of the vehicle, I was overwhelmed by an odor. It was like wet dog to the 10th degree. My wife began to unpack the vehicle, and I moved slowly toward the back of the vehicle. I looked across the road to the wooded area while I tried to adjust my eyes to the dark. I couldn't see anything, but I could smell something. My stomach turned. I waited for my wife to come back out of the house before I took anything in. I don't know why I just stumbled there. Before I took anything in. I'm channeling my inner Porky Pig. Trying to alternate with her to make sure someone was at the vehicle at all times. My wife started to catch on with my reluctance and shouted, "What are you doing? Let's go. I'm tired." I shook my head in agreement, but that stench, was she not smelling it? I continued to move at a snail's pace as I unloaded our bags, coolers, and groceries. Finally, our SUV was empty, except for the most important piece of cargo, our sleeping daughter. I opened the door, checked in all directions, and started to unbuckle her from the car seat. She was reluctant to wake up, a win for any parent transferring a sleeping child from car to house, and I was thankful for that. But still, that stench. Was I being watched? Was whatever was out there watching us? I took one last look around before grabbing my daughter, slamming the door, locking the car, and quickly getting into the house. The next morning, I woke and immediately looked out the window to check on our car and see if there were any signs of a visitor. I opened the door to the outside, and the smell was gone. The smell of warm, rural Indiana air filled my lungs with relief. Whatever caused that smell was gone. After the event, I had zero interest in listening to the podcast anymore. I was so immersed in it before the incident, but have not listened to it since. It's almost like some higher power brought Bigfoot to my attention to prepare me for this moment in order to protect my child. While I know this story may not come across as scary as some others do, I can assure you that to me, it was. When you feel like something is coming for your kids, it's very real. Parental instinct is real. And I'm glad that I learned about Bigfoot and whether something was in the woods watching us or not. I didn't leave my child unattended and in danger. Trust your instinct, and that comes from Chuck. Thanks, Chuck. The story unfolded eventually for us, Tim, there. I was wondering.
Now all I have in my head is "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Pretty uncanny, my Phil Collins impersonation, is it not?
It is. It sounds like Ralph the dog. I'm just saying.
Shut up! God. All right. Where are we off to with our final news story?
We're going back to Oregon. We started there. We'll end there, Dave.
We're going back to Ori. We're going back to Ori.
Nah, I don't think so.
Well, I guess so. No, we guess so.
We guess so, yeah.
All right, what have you got?
An Oregon priest is performing exorcisms and saying that the cases are getting darker, Dave. We go to KOIN, the coin. Coin 6 News.
The coin. I like that. All right, yeah.
Yeah, Coin 6 News met with Archbishop James Cloud on the day he performed an exorcism. Yeah.
Where there's always change in the air.
Oh, look at you.
Kill me. All right.
Don't kill
Archbishop
yourself.
James Cloud.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah. We go to Portland, where for most people, tales of exorcism are nothing more than blockbuster movies or scary stories that incite nightmares. Paranormal possessions are the focus of the all-new TV drama Evil, the psychological evil. I don't know why I went all Jerry Lewis on the deal. The psychological
with the evil and the devils and the demons and the evil.
The psychological
kind of Cosby. You were just pulling a Cosby, and nobody wants to get caught doing that.
No, I didn't go Cosby. The evil. That's the Cosby right there. The psychological mystery on CBS pits science against religion, investigating unexplained mysteries like supposed hauntings and miracles. But as otherworldly as it seems, some people see an exorcism as a last-ditch effort to heal something that's having a very real effect on their lives. James Cloud has made it part of his life's work. He says, if I hadn't seen half the stuff I've seen in life, I wouldn't believe it either until it actually happens, he said. The Medford-based religious leader and licensed counselor has performed hundreds of exorcisms. Cloud explained, it was pretty much thrust on me because I've had the sight since I was 4. He's a notable presence in any room. His black cowboy hat and wooden toolbox will catch your eye before you notice his collar. We spent an afternoon with him in Golden, Oregon. That's Coin 6, that is. It's an old mining town near Grants Pass, rumored to be quite haunted. Cloud says he holds training classes there for people who want to connect and communicate with the other side. The Archbishop speaks in a laid-back, comfortable tone. He said he grew up learning deliverance prayers from his father, a Protestant religious leader. He began his ministry with the Anglican Church, but he said he was kicked out for performing exorcisms. Cloud says he refused to stop because it would mean ignoring a huge part of his faith. Many people think reality is very sanitized, he said. When people die, they go to heaven. Bad people go to hell. The angels stay in heaven. The demons stay in hell. And that's not the case. Throughout the scriptures, we see examples of angels interacting on earth, devils and Satan himself interacting on earth. He's now a leader in the Advent Catholic Church, commonly interchanged with titles like Orthodox or Old Catholic Church. It's one of a group of independent Catholic denominations that don't answer directly to the Pope and the Vatican. Instead, they align with traditions originating in Europe before the Catholic Church's schism in 1870, known as Vatican I. They differ on things like the Pope's infallibility, whether priests can be male or female, married or celibate. Cloud is a father and a family man and very open about the exorcist work he performs. He makes house calls, toolbox and cigar in hand, and merging scripture with modern-day medicine. Many things that would almost mirror someone that's being possessed or oppressed. Many mental health conditions will do it too, he explained. His other job often comes in handy as an accredited mental health counselor. Cloud specializes in substance abuse treatment and recovery. It's a skill, he said, helps in recognizing demonic possession. He says, I have to differentiate in this substance abuse. Is it mental health or is it a legitimate issue that is going on, he said. So if I can rule out the first two, then what I'm left with is something that's potentially legitimate. Cloud said, much like mental health disorders, those who truly believe they're suffering from possession also face stigma. We met, this according to Coin 6, said they met one such man the day of the interview at an abandoned church in Golden. Brent Goodrich stood quietly in the back of the church in Golden, eyes trained down on the floor. The RV technician from Springfield, Oregon, drove several hours with his mom to meet Archbishop Cloud, hoping to be freed of several demonic spirits the Archbishop believed to be attached to him. He seemed irritated and couldn't stop brushing at his left ear with his hand. A lot of people just don't believe you, Goodrich said. I didn't think any of this stuff existed prior. Goodrich reached out to Cloud for help after what he described as 2 years of torment. They're constantly making noise. The ones around me just hiss and hiss at me, Goodrich mumbled. He said he wanted to share his story publicly to show his very real anguish. What I see is the truth. I hope that people will find the same truth in that. I wish I'd found it another way, because that is what you turn to, he explained wearily. I wasn't as religious before this. Cloud said after speaking with Brent, he ruled out things like substance abuse problems or mental illness. The Archbishop then instructed Goodrich to have a seat on an old wooden pew in the church. Cloud opened with a prayer of protection and then started to pray over Brent, anointing him with holy oil. He said, Lord God, I just ask that you protect us with the Holy Spirit. We ask the saint, the martyrs, the apostles to intercede for us as we go into battle, he said calmly. Making a sign of the cross, he reads from a small paperback book, The Rite of Exorcism. Then Cloud began to speak directly to the demons he said he could see sitting on the ground just beside Goodrich. He raised his voice at that point, and he said, loose his ear in the name of Jesus Christ. Hands off, back. In the name of Jesus of Nazareth, leave this man alone. Goodrich says he feels and hears them jumping from side to side, hissing and trying to get back into his ears and his thoughts. He tells Cloud he hears ringing and rattling. The Archbishop's prayers get louder and more powerful. Sweat forms on his brow, and at one point, he begins to briefly speak in tongues, a language he says he doesn't understand. It's just the Holy Spirit speaking through him. After about 30 minutes of prayer, he sits across from Brent. Brent says his ear still hurts. They usually don't leave without making some ruckus, Cloud tells him. Afterwards, they stand in a circle talking for a few minutes, and Brent's eyes began to open a little wider. His voice grows a little stronger. I heard a crack, and it was almost a vibration when they slid off, Cloud said. Brent agrees, saying he felt it. Running from him is what they do, fighting, yelling, not wanting to obey. The Archbishop offered him some advice, warning that the spirits are distant but not gone. He said people who manage to shake an attachment must move forward on a holy path. He said, standing your ground, standing firm, really owning your spiritual life, he advised. That's not an easy thing in today's culture, Cloud warned. He said drugs, Ouija boards, and a whole host of dark materials on the internet can open you up to dark spirits. As the years go by, the cases are getting darker, he went on to say. He often records his cases and posts audio and video clips when he captures what he believes to be EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, on his YouTube channel. He said he's faced tougher battles than Brent's in many times, but he'll continue to fight. Exorcists get scared, definitely, he admits. It just makes me mad, and when I get mad, then I really buckle down and I really work to get it out. And there you go.
Very cool. I just talked to him recently on Midnight in the Desert. Great guy. I love that people are willing to get out there and do the work, and when they see that there's a need for it, whether their church or diocese allows it, they don't back down, right? They just get out there and continue to do what they have to do. So very cool. All right. Well, that's it for this week, kids. We're out of time. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Remember to give us a call, 651-300-4977. 651-300-4977. Be a part of the show with us and share your stories, especially here in the month of October. Let's have some fun together. Or email them into me, dave@darknessradio.com. Tune in tomorrow. The Holzer Files explored right here with the entire cast and crew of the new Travel Channel TV series, The Holzer Files, right here on Beyond the Darkness.